either way, there's a good book that they wrote, and they kind of go through kind of the history of the Métis and how, given that we're excluded from a lot of things, we just like create or co-opt various things that are available to make it work for us. And so obviously it was in the buffalo hunts to begin with, and then the provisional government as an example that they just created. And then the early 80s when there was the issues with the um, what do you call it? The constitutional talks. They How many people do we have in the waiting room? 20. 20?
Yeah, we have 20 people. So, um, but that includes uh, at least one staff. And just a reminder, we are streaming now. So whatever you say will be into your microphones will be sent out.
Yep. Guess we should probably.
Well, yeah, we can let people in, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Okay. We should have a quorum, so.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning, Dave.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Oh,
Dave.
what have I started?
Morning, Dave.
Good morning, all.
Bonjour.
I'm just looking at the number of faces and names here. We probably have a quorum, but of course we'll go through our quorum check to confirm that, and then we'll be proceeding with Resolution A. I want to thank everyone for returning promptly this morning, and I'll turn it over to our clerk for that roll call for quorum.
Morning, everyone. I will now do the quorum call in alphabetical order. Dylan Adam, Vermilion Forks.
Present.
Great. Melanie Allard.
Good morning, present.
President. Apologies.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
my notifications are just going off here.
Present.
David Allard, Salmon Arm. David Allard, Salmon Arm. Danielle Bergevin, MYBC Chair.
Present.
Caitlin Bird, Greater Victoria.
Present.
Zev Brewer, Cathette.
Present.
Topher Burt, Columbia Valley.
Present.
Ron Karan, Vernon and District.
Present.
Thank you. Carmen Carrier, MWBC Chair.
Present.
Rhonda Carrier, Vancouver Sea to Sky.
Present.
Bernadette Chaboyer, Northwest.
I'm here, thank you.
Alana Copeland, Fort St. John.
Here.
Thank you. Nicole Corson, West Kootenay.
Present.
Louis DeJager, 2 SNBC Chair.
Present.
Lauren Dean, Mikisew. Lauren Dean. Betty Deck, Moccasin Flats. There she is. All right, I will note that I just gave access to Vice President Dean and Vice President Deck from Mikisew and Moccasin Flats. Cheryl Dogman, Kelowna.
Present. Thanks.
Kim Finlayson, Golden Ears.
Present.
Deb Fisher, Region 4 Director. Director Fisher?
Director Fisher is likely with her mom. There was a health crisis yesterday, so she'll join me.
Thank you. Brody Fisher, Two Rivers.
Present.
Paulette Flamond, Region 7 Director.
Present.
Brenda Fletcher, Mid-Island.
Present.
Thank you. Rainey Gervais, Region 5 Director.
Good morning, present.
Dean Gladue, Region 3 Director. Director Gladue. Tracy Good, Fraser Valley.
Present.
Thank you. June Graham, Alberni Quayaqua.
Good morning.
Good morning. Patrick Harriet, Region 1 Director.
Present.
Susie Hooper, Region 6 Director.
Present.
Travis Jobin, Columbia River.
Place of Travis Jobin.
Right, thank you, Monica. Terry Kennedy, South Okanagan, Smilkney.
Present.
Thank you. Anthony Crillo, Surrey Delta. Anthony Crillo. Okay, I will note that Director Gladue is now in the meeting. Tara Langlois Young, Chilliwack.
Present.
Alan Lavallee, Region 2 Director.
Present.
Richard Lewis, Cowichan Valley.
Present.
Tyler Massey, North Island.
Hello.
Nicola, Betty Ann McDonnell, Nicola Valley. And just
Good morning.
Good morning. Jordana Oliarni, Tri River.
Present.
Mike Parody, Rocky Mountain. Mike Parody. Mert Servatius, Kootenai South.
Good morning.
Dana Shaw, Boundary.
It's Juliana Shaw, Vice President. I'm filling in.
You.
Present.
Just changing that name. Thomas Spence, Prince George.
Present.
Greg Stanwood, North Fraser.
Here.
Joyce Undin, Prince Rupert and District.
Present.
Marlene Swears, Caribou Chilcotin.
Present.
Heather Weaver, New Caledonia.
Present.
And Anthony Wingham, Wichita.
Present.
Thank you. You have a quorum, speakers.
Excuse me.
Oh, hi, Val. I think I missed you.
Yes, you did. I
My
am
apologies.
present.
Thank you. Did I miss anybody else?
And Chair, or Nicole, I know you recognize me, Director Gladue here as well.
Yep.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Was having
And
issues
I
with
saw
the
President
Wi-Fi, thanks.
I saw President Dave Allard come in as well. So
Present. Thank you, Nicole.
Katie Deck.
oh,
I'm
you
here
are
as well.
here.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So just to confirm that Lauren is on. Lauren?
Yes.
Because I've just got a message from Chris asking that the link be sent to her for the meeting, that Lauren's in Gold River. So Lauren, you're present, right? We don't need to.
I'm present, but I actually can't be here for a little bit, so I'm hoping that Chris will be able to get sent the information and then she can take over.
Okay,
Yeah,
she needs the
that's okay.
the link sent to her, Lauren, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just forward my email.
Yeah, I can sort that out. Everybody's link is personalized, so I can add Chris to the registration.
Okay, great. If you could send it to not our make a CC email because we don't have access to that. So if you could send it to a Gmail for her. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks everybody. Have a good day.
All right. So there is a quorum now with 42 people here.
Thank you very much. Looks like we got a nice full house today. We are going to continue or start with the final item on our agenda, and that is Resolution A. I will turn it over to our clerk to put it up on the screen to read through, and then I'll be looking for a mover and a seconder to begin discussion on this resolution. So please, Nicole, whenever you're ready.
There we go. Apologies. I'm working off only my laptop screen this morning, so I'm a little bit slow because I have to keep switching windows. There we go. All right, this was submitted as urgent business to the summer 2026 MNGA. Recent MNBC board decisions and clarifying board responsibilities, power, and accountability. It affects the Constitution.
Can
It
you
was
get on?
submitted by the president from Nicola Valley and District Métis Association to the MNGA yesterday, May 6th, 2026, and will require a 75% vote for approval. Whereas on April 8th, 2026, the MNBC Board of Directors made an in-camera decision to impose significant restrictions on the Vice President, and the restrictions have the effect of preventing the Vice President from fulfilling the responsibility to act as President under Article 26 of the Constitution. The restrictions were imposed without consultation from the MNGA or MNBC citizens. The decision was not released in camera until April 28th, 2026. The release of the decision occurred after the deadline for the submission of resolutions for this MNGA. And it is unclear what authority the MNBC Board of Directors has to impose restrictions on a board member under MNBC legislation. 2. On April 9th, 2026, the former MNBC president was removed from the Board of Directors. On April 20th, 2026, the MNBC Board of Directors appointed a regional director to act as vice president, and this appointment effectively instated that regional director as the acting president of MNBC. The appointment was made without consultation from the MNGA or MNBC citizens, and it is unclear that the MNBC Constitution intended for a regional director to be enabled to act as president under Article 26 of the MNBC Constitution. 4. The MNGA and MNBC citizens have limited avenues for holding the MNBC Board of Directors accountable when actions are taken that violate MNBC legislation or that do not reflect the will of the MNGA or of MNBC citizens. Article 23 and Article 24 of the MNBC Constitution contradict Section 50, subsection 1A of the BC Societies Act, which states a director of a society may be removed from office by special resolution despite any provision of the bylaws. 6, the above demonstrates an urgent need to clearly define the roles, responsibilities, and powers of MNBC's elected leadership, the ethical standards MNBC's elected leadership are expected to uphold, mechanisms for the MNGA and MNBC citizens to hold MNBC's elected leadership to account, and clear and consistent processes for raising concerns and resolving conflict. Be it resolved that A, the MNGA directs the MNBC Board of Directors to explain and justify subsection A, the restrictions imposed against the Vice President during the April 8th board meeting. B, keeping the decision in camera until April 28th. Subsection C, effectively instating the regional director as acting president. And to answer any further questions the MNGA may have regarding these decisions. The attached resolution, which is now set out as D below, be considered by the MNGA to bring the MNBC Constitution into agreement with the BC Societies Act and provide an avenue for MNBC citizens to hold MNBC elected leadership to account. C, that the MNGA Governance Committee develop in partnership with communities and citizens legislation which outlines the roles, responsibilities, and powers of MNBC's elected leadership, outlines the ethical standards elected leaders are expected to uphold, and provides clear and consistent processes for raising concerns, resolving conflict, and holding MNBC elected leaders to account. And D, subject to approval of A through C above, the Constitution be amended by inserting the underlined words in Article 23. And this would just add a 23.10 to it, indicating that a person is disqualified from being a member of the board of directors when they have been removed by a special resolution passed at a general meeting by at least 2/3 of the votes cast by the voting citizens present.
Thank you very much. I'm going to look for a mover and a seconder. And if you could please use the raise hand function, that would be helpful as it allows me to see who's raising it. So I'll recognize Leader McDonnell.
I will move this. Betty Ann McTonnell, leader of Nicola Valley and District Métis.
Thank you. And the next I have is President Dodman.
And I would love to second this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I get back to Leader McDonnell and President Dodman and whoever else wishes to speak to it, I will just note the date submitted, and I think I saw it caught in the chat as well. It should be June 6th, not May 6th. So that change will be reflected as that was the date it was received or submitted. The other thing, just as a way to perhaps assist the discussion this morning, given some of the comments from yesterday, and the potential or their discussion yesterday about possibly going in camera, it appears that part B and C, and really D is attached to B, but B and C would be things that would likely not require going in camera, as those would be, that's the discussion on the direction for the governance committee, as well as the potential discussion of the change of the constitution. But certainly I see for part A that may be something that given some of the comments we heard yesterday, that in camera might be there. So I just wanted to say we can kind of split this up, perhaps, depending on how the assembly wishes to raise it. But I just wanted to throw that out for consideration. But I'll start with Leader McDonnell, if you wish to speak to the resolution that you brought.
Marcy, as I said yesterday, I've been concerned that our leadership continues to be ruled by lawyers, not by the Métis people. I think we're forgetting who we are as we get into messier and messier business. And I very much would like to hear the reasoning for the sanctions, but also if the board really believes they're acting in good faith currently with this board. This is just mostly so that we can discuss this. And as we know, I want to say it right out loud and plain, this transparency, I love that word. I did not write this. I had help, obviously. This is not how I speak, but I absolutely appreciate the people that took the time to help and to do this. So I will leave it there. As I said, I just, think very simply and plainly, and I think the board would appreciate being held accountable and that we're willing to hear their voices as we should first.
Thank you. Thank you. I next have President Dodman.
I just support what Betty Ann has said. And I think it's all a part of showing exactly what's going on so that us as leaders know what's going on in the background. Super important. Thanks.
Thank you. I did see a hand earlier. I don't know if he was just intending to second, but President Burke, if you wanted to speak.
Yeah, I was gonna second, but Cheryl beat me to it. But I am 100% with Betty Ann and Cheryl on this. Our our leadership needs to be held accountable, and they need to have the opportunity to speak to us as well. But we've already removed another president over bad behavior, and now we have more people sowing fear and division, and that's not leadership. Leadership is inspiring people to come together and to move forward. Fear and division is what's happening down south, and it's tearing that country apart. We don't need that for our nation. We need to come together as leaders and move our nation forward.
Thank you. President Wingham, please go ahead.
Yeah, I would be speaking in support of this resolution as well. As outlined in the governance review of the Métis Nation, British Columbia by Curtis Boyer, one of the greatest challenges facing MNBC's path to self-government is building political trust, citizen participation, transparency, and meaningful engagement. The report specifically identifies trust, and I really want to underline that trust between citizens and government as essential to self-government. Decisions that significantly impact the leadership of our nation made without consultation with citizens, charter communities, or the MNGA risk undermining the trust and moving us further away from the very self-government we are working to try to achieve. I think there was a lot of conversation besides yesterday about what amateurs, traders, and everything like that. I would sit there and say that the work that the board is doing and the concentration of power at the board level is moving us further away from self-government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Director Gladue, please.
Yes, thank you, President Wingham, for that. Exactly. I'm glad to hear that you see us as a government and not a society now, and not a club. I'm glad you're speaking in that content. That's important. But as well, I want it to be known that there's some fallacies in this resolution. I am not acting president. I'm acting vice president as per the vote's direction at this time. So that is a mistake that's in that's in this place here. But as well, I really welcome this. It's important that we have full discussion. I believe we are following the Constitution. We have done everything we can within its scope. And you need to hear the facts. And I'm just really glad to hear. And as for traders, the comment I made yesterday, it was in reference to how we got to be careful who we pick as the Senate, because there are those that do not want to see our Senate function. There are those, I've heard those that want to see our Senate go. So at the end of the day, I'm fighting for our nation as well. And in 1885, one of our greatest leaders that rose, Blue Riel, hung because of traders. And that's what I mean by those that do not see the direction that we need to go in as a nation. And this is another example of nation building, coming together, trying to influence. We all still have different beliefs. But remember what I said, culture is the center. And we're getting a new core of leaders coming up that do not really understand what nation building is. And they're coming and we're trying to help. And I hope there's a lot watching, and you younger ones. So this is why this is welcoming. I have a lot of scars from the political background, from family. I've seen it. Harry Daniels is a good friend of the families. And we've seen people. So we've been involved with this from the beginning, my family. I come from road allowance. Some of you are just finding out about your Métis heritage. And this is why this is good to be Milton building. So one more time, Anthony, I welcome the fact that you are using these words of self-government and we are building a government rather than talking like Nehono in Slotin, Monyawote. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairperson Carrier, please go ahead.
Monyawote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Leader McDonnell. I'm glad that you're asking for transparency. And I do believe that this is a discussion that's needed to be had with the assembly gathered. And I am going to ask the assembly for some extra time, Mr. Speaker, to address, because this is quite a lengthy motion that's been tabled with a lot of things that need to be addressed. So what I'd like to do is ask the assembly if you're willing to grant that time. I'm certainly willing to hear from other folks first before I speak. And just to let you know, this was a majority vote to put these sanctions in, and I will explain more if the assembly gives me the time to speak. But I'm assuming that you want to hear from the board of directors who voted in favor. So just letting you all know that it is not the whole board, and I'm sure you're aware of that. But I also want to thank Topher and for raising the issue of sowing fear and division, because I couldn't agree more, right? We need to have clarity in how the board communicates out to our folks. We don't need things that raise fear and division, absolutely 100%. And Anthony, couldn't agree more. We need to build back trust. So I will pass it back to you, Mr. Speaker, to see if the assembly is willing to grant me time to answer the questions that Leader McDonnell has raised here.
Certainly, thank you. And I think just before I get to, I did have President Graham next, although she may have dropped her hand. When I'm looking at the be it resolved, I assume it's to explain and justify during today's meeting, but it may be something that needs to be brought at another time to be able to respond to all the questions. I'm not sure what the timeline is specifically, and so that might be something I'm just setting out for the MNGA to consider how that might look. President Graham, please go ahead.
Good morning, June Graham, Alberni Clakewood Métis. I welcome the board talking today. It's what we're all asking for, and it will take more than 3 minutes for each person to share that. So I ask that we grant them all the time that they need to talk today, because our nation is in serious trouble. Our nation is, Chris, can you mute yours, please? Our nation is in serious trouble, and we are losing ground as we speak. So you all want the truth? So let the truth come out today. Let the people talk. Because we are broken everywhere. Not just the board, the MNGA table as well. We used to stand together, and as you know, in the last in-person MNGA, we divided. And we haven't come back. We're not in good shape either. We used to be friends. We used to talk. We used to come together. That's the Métis thing. We don't do that anymore. We're divided. We need to do our work too. So today I pray that you all allow the people on the board to talk and to tell their truth, because you want to know it, so let them say it. It's been covered up far too long. We're in trouble. Let's put the dirty crap on the table and deal with it. Not let another meeting go by. I'm not proud of who our nation is right now. And even when I work with the First Nations in my community, they acknowledge what's going on at MNBC, but they say, it's okay, between you and I, we'll work together for our community. But they make me know for sure they know all of what's going on at MNBC. So I carry that shame too. And it adds to my work as a leader in my community. So let's today get ugly and truthful. Let's quit beating around the bush. Everyone has their own beliefs. We all got our own little secret groups. Let the truth stand today on this table. If you care for this nation, be brave today. Be patient, open your ears and listen and hear the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, President Graham. And my apologies, Chairperson Carey, when you're asking for more time, I didn't realize it was as a speaker more than the 3 minutes. I was not going to hold that specific rule because it's not, you wouldn't be speaking per se as a MNGA member, but as someone responding to the resolution itself as in your other capacity, if I can put it that way. So certainly, just like when we have people responding to provide background information, that's different. But what I might do, I do have 2 other hands. Perhaps I'll go to those other 2 hands first, Chairperson Carey, and then come back to you, and then let you go for the amount of time that you need. President Caron, please go ahead.
Ron Caron with the Vernon District Métis. We just have to, during this discussion, we talk about constitutional law in this document. I support the transparency component, but in this discussion, we have to make sure that Article 8 of our Constitution is honored here. And if you read it, it specifically says that you can't discredit, defame, basically citizens. The people that will be discussed in this, my understanding, and I don't know anything because I haven't really touched on any of it, but because I'm not on that board, but we have to be careful that their constitutional right as citizens under Article 8 are protected. So let's just keep that in mind before we move forward with the discussion on these sanctions, because you're going down a slippery slope in terms of defaming people, and it's not going to be very pleasant. So, and I agree with June, with President Graham. Yeah, maybe we need to air some of this stuff, but we got to be careful how much we throw on the table. It's going to get dangerous here. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, President Caron. And perhaps just for everyone's benefit, the Constitution, Article 8 says no Métis citizen shall be subject to arbitrary or unlawful interference with their privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to unlawful attacks on their honor or reputation. So just so that everyone's aware of what President Caron was referring to. Elected Leader Lewis, please go ahead.
Richard Lewis. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Elected Leader Richard Lewis, Cowichan Valley Métis. Just a little bit of a clarification on the whereas in number 5A. By special resolution, despite any provisions of the bylaw, comma, or. Now, I'm wondering, what is the or? Is that in relation to, is there more information in there? Or is there other wording in that the director of the society may be removed from office? I just need to know if it's a misprint or if there's more. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Obviously, it's part of the whereas as opposed to the resolution, but I'll turn it to President Byrd.
Yeah, I have the answer to that. So B wasn't included because of the or, after the or, within the Societies Act, because it includes other mechanisms that societies can use to remove directors. So I can go and find the Societies Act, but it's not directly relevant to this piece. I can post that into the chat though for everyone's understanding. The or is part of part A because then part B would list other reasons. So that's why the or is there. It's intended to be there because we're copying, but it's not, the rest of what follows isn't directly relevant. I'll find that part for you though.
So essentially, as I understand it, then for the purposes of the whereas in this resolution, the or is irrelevant, maybe could have or should have been deleted or removed. Does that respond to your question, Leader Lewis?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And so seeing no other hands, I will return to Chairperson Carrier to speak to the resolution and the intent behind it. And please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Assembly for allowing myself and my colleagues to speak. I can't speak to the intent of the motion because I didn't know that this was coming forward, but I can tell you what my personal intentions were. And what I'm going to do first of those is sort of take us back because I think it's important for us to have context. So again, thank you to Leader McDonnell for asking for this transparency and accountability. And I do agree with you that we do need a mechanism of recall. However, I think that needs way more work because we need to have some context, some framework. It needs to be vetted by governance. What is the threshold for that recall? What are the criteria? But I will plant that aside because that's a conversation after you hear from the board of directors regarding the sanctions. And thank you to President Karan. This is certainly not a character assassination of the acting president. This, and I know I speak for my colleagues who voted in favor, this is about the Constitution and good governance. That is what this is about. It's about upholding the Constitution and our policies and good governance. So this is what the transparency and the accountability is about, and this is what you're going to hear from me. I just want to point back to resolution that was tabled, the first one by my MNGA colleague, President Dave Allard, yesterday, because I think how that resolution was worded gives us a framework and a context for governance. So when a motion is passed, a duly passed motion is not acted on, what do you do then? And I think one of the things that was offered in Mr. Allard's resolution was the opportunity for censure. So this is what's happened here. The board of directors took steps to use sanctions as a method of censure. So let me take you back. Last summer, as you know, the executive committee voted unilaterally to suspend the former president. That was done, in my opinion, contrary to Section 25 of the Constitution. My colleagues, I believe, acted in what they thought was correct with the advice that was given to them. They were not given governance advice. Do I agree with what they did? No, I don't. So upholding Section 25 of the Constitution as a fiduciary on this board is the utmost. I take an oath of office to uphold the Constitution. Section 25 requires a majority vote of the board of directors. So I'm just going to put that on the table. The date was brought up, Leader McDonnell, April 20th. The MNBC board of directors by majority vote appointed Director Gladue to fill in the interim role of acting vice president. So we do have the right to do that. Board Policy Manual B8, if the office of the vice president is vacant, an interim VP may be appointed by the MNBC board. We didn't just appoint Director Gladue, we had a vote. Democracy ruled, it was a majority vote, and we appointed Mr. Gladue as the acting vice president. This is also supported by Section 46 of the Constitution. Now, I want to take you back to last August, where the executive committee at the time, again, unilaterally appointed a vice president. Contrary to policy B8 and Section 46 of the Constitution, it did not go to a majority vote of the board of directors. So I'm just going to put that on the table. And Leader McDonnell, I don't believe you questioned that last August. So we have two very different scenarios here. We have democracy at play, where the board of directors voted and duly elected and appointed somebody to fill as an interim role as the acting vice president, as opposed to a former executive who acted unilaterally without board support. So one of the other comments in the motion talks about ethical standards and what type of ethical standards is the board governed by. That is laid out in detail in the board policy manual. There are ethical standards, and I think we've just been through a process where that was questioned. So I would refer you to the board policy manual because there are quite a few detailed explanations as to what those ethical standards are. So moving on, April 28th decision was released, sanctions on the acting president. And I believe the question was, why was this released at this time? There are several concerns of governance that myself and some of my colleagues have, where not just the executive committee has acted unilaterally, but the acting president has acted unilaterally. We are speaking about, in specific to the sanctions, a letter that was sent out to charter community presidents in December, while we were still in a board meeting, that, in my opinion, was borderline defamatory of myself and some of my colleagues who democratically voted to uphold Section 25 of the Constitution. This was not a vote for the former president. This was a vote to uphold Section 25. As a result of that, yes, the former president was reinstated because, as a fiduciary, again, it is our responsibility to uphold the Constitution, and we have a fiduciary responsibility and a duty of care to the nation and our citizens to keep us from political, reputational, and also legal risks. And when we're not following our Constitution, we are at risk. And I'm very concerned that we did not follow the Constitution. That was not an easy decision. We tried for weeks and months to bring our colleagues all into compliance with the Constitution, our bylaws, and the Societies Act. Finally, we acted. If the Assembly would like to go through the letter that all the presidents got, we can do that. We can go through it word by word. So what we were hoping to do is to keep this in-house. This was not wanting to defame anybody's character or to put the acting president in a difficult position. We realize that emotions are high, everybody's stressed. We offered the acting president an opportunity, and before we tabled a motion, I had a personal conversation with the acting president, as did some of my colleagues, about the harm that was brought to us by the letter, some of the concerns we had about the letter, as well as the opportunity for the acting president to have a reset and reestablish trust amongst the board members. I cannot speak for the acting president as to what the intention was. To me, the letter is clear. So we tried to keep this in-house. We tried to ask the acting president to hear us. We presented a list of the sanction, or sorry, not the sanctions. We presented a list of the policies that we felt were violated by the letter, and offered the vice president the acting president the opportunity to send out a correspondence to the community presidents explaining and apologizing to the harm that was brought to the board members by the letter. As a result of that not coming to fruition, the acting president felt that it was political opinion. We disagreed. We imposed sanctions. The sanctions are not a code of conduct. It is a method of censure. And I would, again, point you back to my colleague Dave Allard's motion from yesterday, where when you pass, a duly passed motion is passed and it's not acted on, then what? Like this assembly, you're asking for accountability. Then what? What do we do for accountability? Our nation has been through a lot over these last few months, and I will tell you, we did not want to go to another code of conduct. The sanctions are for 90 days, and then they'll be reevaluated. So this was an opportunity for the board of directors to handle this privately and provide corrective measures to bring back trust and transparency and accountability to the board. We're still working on that. I just want to point out again that when we don't follow the Constitution and our policies, we compromise our governance integrity, we create reputational harm, we harm the relationships between the assembly, the governing assembly, the board of directors, and our citizens, and we undermine trust amongst each other, and I believe that's where we are. So I couldn't agree with you more, to my fellow colleagues, to Topher and Anthony. We do not want to sow division. We want to bring collective responsibility and leadership back. So just to finish up here, I want to tell you about some of the policy breaches. And again, if we need to read the letter that was sent out to community presidents, let's do that. And we can go through it word by word, like it's grade 8 English class. So some of the policy breaches that we brought to the acting president's attention: policy B2, A, standards that inspire public confidence, promote and uphold reputation of MNBC, carry out responsibilities in accordance with the Constitution. When you are publicly saying negative things about your board members and that we acted in self-interest to uphold the Constitution, I don't think that inspires public confidence. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that probably created more like, wow, what is going on in that board by all of you. Policy B2B, build and maintain relationships where all citizens or all board members can listen, learn, and collaborate. Respect differing points of view and of colleagues to enhance confidence and build capacity in the work of the nation. Policy B2D, publicly uphold and support majority decisions of the board. The letter did not publicly uphold and support the majority decision of the board. Policy B2F, work with colleagues in a spirit of respect, openness, courtesy, cooperation, in spite of differences of opinion that may arise during debate. And most importantly, refrain from any negative commentary, public or private, about directors. Policy B6, board members must abide by their oath of allegiance by upholding the reputation of MNBC, preserve public confidence and trust. Read the letter. Policy C1, the president, the acting president at the time of MNBC, is the designated spokesperson for the nation and acts at the discretion of the board of directors. While speaking on behalf of MNBC, the president must reflect the official positions of MNBC, articulated either through the will of the board or public documents. Policy HO, board members are to refrain from impugning the character, motives, or integrity of other board members and the integrity of ministries or institutions of the nation. So what I'm putting before you today are the Constitution and the policies. And I ask you, what does accountability look like? What does accountability look like? This is about good governance. I thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer any more of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anyone else with their hand up. If you're wishing to speak or ask any further questions, please go ahead. I'll start with President Bird.
Yeah, Caitlin Bird, Vice President, Métis Nation, Greater Victoria. So in the resolution that's released from in camera, and I'm just reading it on my screen, it says without prior and explicit approval from the board. So limiting the actions of the acting president, the elected vice president. And so I'm curious what things the board has given prior and explicit approval to the vice president for her to be able to act in the position that we elected her to be in. You've noted the areas where she has been restricted broadly, but I'm curious to see where the board has found it appropriate for her to take on the role that she was elected to do, and with the approval from the board.
So Caitlin, the acting president was voted in as the vice president and is appointed as the interim president, and the interim president still fulfills that role, sorry, as the chair of the board.
So the only prior and explicit approval that the MNBC board has done is that she's able to chair meetings? Or are there other areas where our acting president is allowed to participate in opportunities, participate in different things? Because it says
So to answer your question, this is what the sanctions are. When a duly passed motion is not acted on, we have censured the vice president, or the acting president, with sanctions. So the acting president still gets paid, is still the acting president, fulfills her role as chair, chairs the executive committee meetings. She has sanctions on her and that does not allow her to participate in committee work. And the communication, and I'll refer to my executive committee members, because I am not on the executive, but the executive committee is to work with staff, and the president, I believe, is not to be doing that alone at this time. But I will defer to the acting vice president and the secretary and the treasurer.
If I may, the only reason I ask is because why would you include the wording without prior and explicit approval? By including the resolution saying that somebody shall not participate in a variety of things, that should be clear enough. But when you open the door where you say without prior and explicit approval, it implies that the board will still allow some responsibilities to be taken. Typically, most communications or speeches or things where somebody is the face of our nation go through a comms team anyways. And so why are those sorts of things also no longer the responsibility of our acting president?
They are, but it has to go through the approval of the board, because there are other issues at play here with governance where the acting president has acted unilaterally. I'm answering why we put these sanctions in place. If we want to go down that road with other issues at play here, so the acting president is free to act and speak on behalf of the nation with the consent of the executive committee and the board.
Right. So my question was, in what instances has that approval been given? Thank you.
And I'll defer to the executive committee. Thanks.
Yes, I see a hand up. Chairperson Dieger, please, if you want to respond to that question.
Yeah, there are certain documents that have to be signed by the president only. There are certain things that is the business of the nation that really can't be signed by anyone else except the person who's in that acting presidential role. And so those things come back for approval. So that could be an example. I hope that helps, Kate.
Thank you. President Wingham, please go ahead.
Thank you. This is in regards to the minutes there for the board. I'm just wondering, did any of the directors or any of the chair actually have conversations with the citizens that they represent? I think if I were to reference the document again about self-governance, one of the biggest risks was the concentration of power at the board level. And from my understanding and from what I can read in this board minutes, that's where the concentration of power was, which moves us again away from self-government. So I'm just wondering, did any of the directors or any of the chair have conversation with the citizens that they represent prior to making this decision? Thank you.
And I'll open it up to any of the board members who wish to answer or respond to that question. Feel free to go ahead. Chairperson Dieger, yeah.
Yeah, so what we were trying to do here is to keep this in-house. That didn't happen when the suspension of the past president happened. There was a press release. All of a sudden, our funders were looking at us. We were getting more and more difficulty. So it was blown out of proportion when it could have been resolved in-house. That's why we have our board policy manuals. We have mechanisms in order to contain if there's bad behavior, somebody makes a mistake, then that's where we go to. We don't release everything in public just because this is what it does. Immense harm to the nation. We should be keeping our laundry in the laundry room rather than exposing this to the public. And that's what we did here. And it started with, because it's mentioned also in the resolution, that there was some secrecy or something with, no, that wasn't it at all. We were completely trying to keep this inside. But because staff was involved at some of the meetings, we had to release the decision from out of camera. So that's the reasoning for that. But it was to, not harm the vice president, but work with us to correct some of those actions. And we're still trying to do that. And if you remember the last MNGA, that the VP said that it was going to be hard for her to work with us, but we're trying. And even I told all of you, I said, I will double down and try even harder. And that's what we're trying to do, not publicly, but privately, to bring all of us together. And we are moving the nation's business forward. So we're doing the best we can with the situation we're faced with.
Thank you, Louis. Can we just have a simple yes or no, whether you kind of connected with the people that you represent or not? Thank you.
Yeah, Chairperson Jaeger, if you want to respond to that.
Sure. Connected with, yes, the board, with the board policy manual. Yes, I did not bring anyone else personally into this out of respect for the vice president.
And I have a couple of the other board members with their hands up if you want to respond to President Wingham's question about consultation, essentially, with any of the individuals that you represent. I'll start with Director Gladue.
Yes, I wish we could have went to the people, but this needed to stay in-house. Once we start going to one, the Mogson Telegraph kicks in, and then everything starts to go. Look at that page called the president's page that always gets leaked out. The information that's shared there. There's obviously groups here that are getting wrong information. And what we try to do is contain it internally, ensuring that the acting vice president arbitrarily was respecting our constitution. And also, I just want to say this: it requires to go back. It requires her to go back to the board and ascertain what she can and she can do. This is a 90-day sanction we put on her. Her trust was been broken with the board, and we're trying to refix that. So her leadership is in question, yes. But us taking it out to the general public, do you see government out there when they have internal issues with their caucus doing things like this to the people? We got 33,000 citizens to get out there. Trust me, we don't need to be airing our laundry out there in the communities. And if you have a leader such as who will every time we have to make a decision, let's go to the people. Yes, we go to the people in exigent circumstances. But we believe, and I will go back to Carmen, Director Carmen's carrier's information. She stated exactly what was broken here. Remember, people, nobody is above the law. You're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to the facts. So no, that question is no, Anthony. Why would we go to the people at this time if we can't deal it in-house? Then it eventually goes out, and people have their say at the ballot table as well. That's how the reality is. So to say yes, there's a difference of opinion, and I will say it again, that was an illegal suspension of our original president back in March, and I've said it on and on again. The old executive abused their power. They abused their power. You can go read who the old executive is. I want them to explain what they did. They played lawyer, and there was no proper consultation done. So at the end of the day, we brought the former president back in to help our constitution, to uphold the law of the land, and then a letter went out defaming. I was defamed on that. So these are breaches that she's done. And yes, we're at peril, and I'm 100% belief that we do not. Why would we have to go to every citizen until the ballots go? This would create too much confusion. She needed to be removed, sanctioned until such time we can rectify this. Thank you.
Director Hooper, if you wanted to respond to President Wingham's question.
Yeah, to respond to your question, Anthony, thank you for the question. No, I did not. go to my region. I believe this motion was put on, I did not have knowledge of the motion before it was put on the floor. It was also in camera, as the minutes state. It wasn't brought out of camera till, if I look at the date, April 28th. But I am the voice for my region. I consult as often as I can with my community presidents. And so I am their voice. But no, I did not consult because it was in camera. And, I don't think the minutes are out yet. I'd have to double check. And I would just like to add that, I am now having my vote recorded, just so that, people know how I vote. And, if that's not speaking as one, I'm just speaking what I am for myself, and so that my region knows how I am voting. And, if there's discussion there, we can have it with my region. So, yeah, majority of the vote, things pass, it's democracy. But I still feel that my opinion, my vote, and the way I vote needs to be voiced, and I do that. So to answer your question, Anthony, no. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairperson Carey, if you wish to respond to President Wingham's question.
Yes, Anthony, no, I did not consult with my council or people, because this was an issue. This was an issue amongst the board members. This was an action taken by the acting president towards the board members who voted to uphold Section 25 of the Constitution. This is not a code of conduct complaint. This is not a code of conduct complaint. And I think people have the idea that this is. We haven't gone down that road yet. This was a sanction put in place because the acting president chose not to answer to a duly passed motion. And I saw in the chat asking if the letter could be read out, and I will read out the letter. It was posted on December 15th while we were still in a board meeting. It was sent out to all the charter community presidents. And while we were in a board meeting, a charter community president sent it to a few members of our board. We didn't even know this was going out. And if you recall, when I read to you the sanctions that were violated, as board members, you can't just put anything you want. It has to reflect the will of the board. And just reminding you of policy HO, board members are to refrain from impugning the character, motives, or integrity of other board members. So just to read the letter, December 15th, while we were still in a board meeting, Township presidents, today, a majority of the board of directors outvoted the executive and decided to reinstate President Walter Minot. What we decided to do was uphold Section 25 of the Constitution. This is deeply concerning on a number of levels. I can tell you, as someone who was involved in the decision to suspend President Minot, it was a valid but complicated process. An independent review was brought in to ensure a fair process for both sides, President Minot included. This vote also does not consider the motion that you voted on at the MNGA to review the report and help the board make a decision. First of all, that statement right there is problematic because we've all been through this. There was PIPA and we had to go through a whole process to deal with that. They have also superseded the Senate, which is hearing President Minot's appeal in February. We did not. As a result of this motion, I regret to inform you that the executive has resigned their positions as treasurer and/or secretary. This is unfortunate. They are good and honorable people who made a decision to protect our nation. As the elected vice president, I will remain in my position and continue to fight for what I believe is right. I do agree that the former executive felt that they were making the right decision. I don't agree with that decision, but I do agree that their motives were not ill-intentioned. Make no mistake, this is a blatant disregard for our democratic process and most distressingly destabilizes our operations and harms staff. I don't know how it's a blatant disregard for the democratic process because It was a majority vote to uphold Section 25 of the Constitution. Taking you back to August, it was not a majority vote. I don't know how it destabilizes operations and staff because the board of directors was not kept informed of those risks or any safety plans that were put in place. Instead of letting the process play out, they've decided to serve their own self-interest and act. I had no self-interest in upholding Section 25 of the Constitution. As a board member of Métis Nation BC, I have a fiduciary responsibility to uphold the Constitution. I am putting myself at risk if I do not do that. There was no self-interest or personal gain for me to do that. The letter goes on. Personally, I am ashamed to be part of this board. Again, what does that say reputationally about MNBC? I ran to make things better for our nation and our people. I feel strongly they have put all of us at risk with this decision. I will be reaching out directly to you or get in touch with me should you feel the need. So I'm not sure, Anthony, if this was discussed with your community. It didn't go to my council members. So it didn't come up from my council members, but I certainly report out what we talk about at the board to my council. Our last council meeting didn't have quorum, so it's been postponed. I'm sure we'll be discussing this in more detail. So that's the letter for those of you who asked. Thank you.
Thank you. I will invite Chairperson Bergevin if you're wishing to respond to President Wingham's question.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the question, and I would offer to the assembly. I bring all things to my BC. Prior to this MNGA, I scheduled a time and sat down with the youth, not only my BC, but all Métis youth, to review and explain the resolutions and the motions that were coming forward. And as a personal policy, I do see it as my responsibility to engage with the youth, because I'm not sitting at these tables to serve my own self-interest. I'm sitting here as their representative and their voice in this space. To answer your question specifically, this motion was in camera, and discussing in camera motions with others is, as I view it, inappropriate, and it goes against the oath of office that we took. So no, for this specific motion, I did not consult my BC.
Thank you. I have two more board members with their hands presumably to respond. So I've got Director Lavalley, if you wish to respond to.
Yeah, no, as the other board members have said, it was in camera, so we can't discuss it. So like it was just left on, but I myself too now have my vote recorded every time so that it is in the minutes, that everyone sees that how I am voting on it, because it's a split board, and we got to try to work together. Is it working right now? I would say it's very hard. I was asked at the last MNGA if the board could work together, and I honestly said, I don't know. I sure hope so. And that is my main goal, is for us all to better our nation. But it's real tough. It like how it all even started. I was left out on my own for the longest time. Thanks.
Thank you. Director Harriet, if you wish to respond.
Yeah, so as was said, this was done in confidence, and there are reasons for that. Reputational harm of people trying to sort things out amicably before these issues become public. But honestly, that's why I'm in support of this resolution, because we need some impartial other mechanisms. Like the board should not be in a position to a majority of the board shouldn't be in a position to sanction in retaliation of dissenting voices, while ignoring reports of poor behavior of those that they agree with, and all of it behind closed doors. Like we need to have something that is independent and impartial, to hopefully have better dispute resolution mechanisms, because obviously what we have right now is not working. I'd also like to ask if the issue of the sanctions were to try to address the perceived disrespect in external communications, why did the sanctions include removal of participation on internal board committees, which makes up a large percentage of the work that the president is supposed to be doing? Being kept off participation of the finance committee is a good example. It doesn't seem that the sanctions are addressing the issue that they were brought forward to address, and that it is all encompassing of all of the role of the interim president as is put in the Constitution.
Thank you. And I do have Director Flamond, if you were to respond to President Wingham's question.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. And no, I did not, because it was done in camera, and my communities respect that from me. They know that I don't speak out of context with things that are done in camera. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I can just have a final thought on that.
Yes.
I think we've just actually seen the reality of the nation itself. We just heard that the balance of power actually sits at that board of directors, which in fact actually makes it a society. So if we are looking to work towards self-government, we need to take this back to the people. If an in-camera is the solution to do some of these things, it is ultimately affecting our path towards self-governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker I had on the list was President Swears. If you're still wanting to, nope, or yes or no, I didn't see that.
Sorry, some of the stuff is being brought up here, and so I vowed not to speak because it's kind of irritating. Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that you give an opportunity if you so wish to. I next have President Corson. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, President Corson, West Kootenay Métis. I was in the same position as President Swears. I had a long series of notes and comments, but they have been covered by a couple of the previous speakers. And as President Wingham clearly pointed out, the board has demonstrated to us that you remain divided and unable to work together, and that those who are utilizing process as an explanation for processes that we're not privy to and that we don't understand the results of are saying that it's to protect the board, or saying it's to protect the nation, are suggesting that we're all in mortal peril at all times if we don't toe the line. And so I think that, yeah, everything that has become clear in this conversation is what we really need to address. Thank you.
Thank you. I see a couple of board members raising their hands, and I presume in response to President Corson's comments. So I'll perhaps turn to Chairperson Carrier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, President Corson, we are working together. We meet as a board, we do the work of the nation, we get the business done. And you can look at the minutes. We are moving things forward. This is an issue about, pardon me, sorry?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I thought you had the pause there was the end.
Yeah.
No, please continue.
So please do not make this a personal issue. This is not a personal issue. This is about upholding good governance and about following the Constitution and our policies. What I'd like you to reflect on is the whole year. Look back to last summer. Did Section 25 of the Constitution get upheld? We don't want to have a repeat of that. We want to move forward. And as my colleague, Director Harriet said, let's look at the holes. How do we get better at our governance? How do we create better governance so that we don't have these holes and we can move forward in a better way? And in answer to your question, President Wingham, we are absolutely a society. That's the legal entity we are in. Moving towards self-governance requires us to act like a government, but until we have Indigenous body governing status, we remain a society. So you're quite right. And I know you keep bringing that up. And thank you for focusing on that, because that is part of moving forward and having better governance and making sure that we are upholding the Constitution. And I can tell you that I can work on this board. We are doing the work of the nation. So the work that's brought forward and all our portfolios, we will do that work. And we will continue to do that work because that's what we are elected to do. And that's the fiduciary responsibility that we hold. And I too support this motion. There does need to be a recall motion for elected folks. It does need a deeper dive with governance to look at what that framework is going to look like and what that recall mechanism will be. Because as I stated earlier, municipalities deal and struggle with those issues. So we need to do some work on that governance piece, and I do support this motion in principle moving forward. Thank you.
Chairperson Diego.
Yeah, I mean, there couldn't be anything further from the truth. I mean, we are working as a board. This executive brings everything back to the board. There are no closed doors, as the Region 1 director says. Everything is reported back. That did not happen last year from the summer. We were being excluded, and we begged. In fact, I even begged the vice president, please just write a letter of apology. More than twice, at least 3 or 4 times. That's all. That's all we're asking for. It's not like we just want a bit of cooperation. You know, I support this transparency as well. I think it's awesome, but there are some definite legal issues. There's no terms of reference. Where's the Senate play on this? This is definitely something that needs to go to the governance committee. We send a lot of things to the governance committee. This is changing the Constitution, which is a really big deal. And you should have the backing of all the citizens. I think this needs to play out thoughtfully and legally. And I think if we do it right, we'll have a good mechanism if we need to use it in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Just so we see that there's multiple hands still up. I'm going to, sorry, just a second. I'm going to allow Acting President Allard to comment, and then I will be going to President Finlayson, who has not yet spoken, and then to our other hands who have previously spoken, and give them an opportunity to go again. Go ahead, Acting President Allard.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to speak. First, I want to speak that I support this motion. And I do believe that we need a clear path, and I look forward to working to what the terms of reference and all the things are going to be if this assembly does pass the motion. I do want to say that with the sanctions and what is there, I have done a written apology. And I have a number of times apologized in meetings to my colleagues. And I've asked, like, what can I do? What can I do? So truly, I have apologized. I have apologized in writing. It was submitted, but it was not what they were looking for. So I apologize to everyone, heartfully. And, so that's about what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll next recognize President Finlayson.
Hi, I'm President Finlayson, Golden Ears Métis Society. I mean, listening to everyone today, I can make a few assumptions, but I just want to be clear. There's obviously a divide on the board because that's what everyone's talking about. I want to know actually what side everyone is on with the board, where the divide is specifically. And another thing that bothered me is when Ellen Levy said that he was standing alone. And I just think it's heartbreaking to know that someone who represents our community of Region 2 felt alone on the board. And I would like him to explain that further as well, why he feels alone and why people can't come together.
Thank you. I do have Director Gladue, if you want to respond to that, or if there was something, if it was something else, then I'll come back to you in another moment.
You can go ahead. I'll refrain. I'll let people go ahead now. Thanks.
Okay, I'll keep your hand there. Perhaps given the last part of that question, I'll go to Director Lovely first.
The reason I felt alone is there was a code of conduct done, and some people pulled out of it, and I had no idea. No one phoned me from the board or anything like that. So I was left all by myself. The rest of the board was on the executive, so they couldn't talk to me. So, and because everything was in camera, I could not talk to anybody. It was very hard. So that's how I was so alone. Thanks.
Thank you. Chairperson Carrier, if you were wanting to respond to some of the comments from President Finlayson.
I was actually going to respond to Acting President Allard. I wanted to thank Acting President Allard for her apology, as I have not heard an apology. And so thank you for doing that publicly in front of the Assembly. I do appreciate that. This was not personal. This was about policy from the board policy manual and the Constitution. And that's what I am here to uphold. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I did have elected leader Lewis with his hand up prior. It's gone down. I'm not sure if Leader Lewis, if you were still wishing to speak, or
I'm good. I wanted to hear from Acting President Allard, and I have done so. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Burt, please.
Thank you, Caitlin Bird, Métis Nation Greater Victoria. In looking through the Constitution and the board policy manual, it looks like sanctions are only in there as a result of a code of conduct issue, and there seems to be some processes within there before sanctions come into play. So I'm curious on perhaps why that wasn't followed, given that's what we seem to all be referencing this morning. But beyond that, as the conversation has taken place and what everyone has said, it just shows to me the importance of having the MNGA as part of our collective accountability and governance. And so really highlighting the importance of this resolution. I also want to say from a personal perspective that it feels to me that the consequence is far out of proportion to what was brought forward. If the extent of this is all based on an email, that seems far beyond. And so again, perhaps that isn't the full picture, and that is where the governance committee might need to come into play. It feels very much that the board is heavily invested and deeply involved and probably has numerous pieces of conflict of interest in order to be able to make an unbiased decision in these sorts of matters. And again, you have an amazing group of leaders here. And so we really do need to be bringing in the MNGA to help navigate through these pieces. We've heard that the board has made decisions without consulting with their councils, with their regions, and this does impact us as a nation. And so I just want to really highlight that we are stronger when we have a collective voice, we work together, and we really do have an ability for us as community leaders to hold the board as a whole accountable and to question these sorts of actions, because from what I'm hearing from community leadership, this doesn't feel like a decision that sits well with folks.
Thank you. The next, I will then go back to Director Gladue if you're wishing to speak. You were the next hand I had.
Go ahead. I'm here, sorry. Yeah, just in reference, Caitlin, thank you for that. We all need to move in that way. Just in reference to Acting President Allard's comment in regards to the letter of apology and so forth. Well, I'm going to be blunt. It was unacceptable what was going on there. And at the end of the day, these were serious issues of breach of our Constitution, people. We are starting to come to the point now where we're all saying, well, let's just all forgive and go. We can't. There was breaches in our Constitution. The illegal suspension it started with, and this is where we are today. I'd like to hear from all the whole board. In fact, I haven't heard if she's on here. The former executive Fisher, she hasn't spoken yet, and you know, and these people that and these individuals that it involves. Because yes, we are at peril, but are we a burning house? Are we going to burn down? No. This is a great example of democracy we're exhibiting here. I have a responsibility as a board of director. I have privacy. We have to have privacy issues that we're adhering to, that I believe we were adhering to. And again, let's go back to August 18th. What transpired there? This brought on, as a result of that legal suspension, this brought on a very expensive lawyers and legalities. And that former executive is responsible for this. And yes, they did it in good faith, but they received bad information. They breached our Constitution, and I will uphold our Constitution, and I will continue fighting for self-government. Yes, we're still under the Societies Act, but that's that gray area. We have to believe Opisawakimik. That's who we are. So and it's great to see the new views of presidents coming in, but we got to act here, people. We have to do what we have to do here to move forward. And again, it's important that you get somebody at your voice. Also, we have to deal with the federal government, the provincial government. You need somebody that understands culture, knows how, and also respects its former board members. So yes, acting was in breach of our constitutional. So we will continue to do what we got to do, and I hope we can move forward. And thank you for bringing this up, this motion forward, because this hard discussion needs to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do see we've got one of our future, perhaps, MNGA members waving at everyone this morning. I next have on my list the individual I have with hands up was for a second time. I had President Burke next, followed by Acting President Allard and President Graham. So President Burke, if you wish to go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Topher Burke, Columbia Valley Métis. I really wanted to echo what Caitlin just said. Everything she said is spot on. But I'm a little torn by some board members saying things and then saying different things. They said that they wanted an apology from the vice president. The vice president just offered her an apology. She said she'd written an apology, but now they're not accepting the apology. So do you want an apology or do you not want an apology? Because we just got an apology, and there was lots of talk yesterday too about culture and colonial ways of doing things. We just got what was asked for, and now we're not accepting it. To me, it should be that the vice president has offered her apology. We should accept it and reinstate her in her full position, as she should be. Otherwise, it sounds like people are just dragging their feet and trying to drag this out as long as they can. And that's not moving us forward at all. And that's not leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I said, I next had Acting President Allard.
Sorry, that was a still hand. It didn't go down. My apologies.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And one thing I just was reminded in the comments, but it was mentioned. There was a question of Director Fisher. Obviously, she's not in today. She's, I believe, assisting her mother, so she hasn't been during today's meeting. President Graham, please go ahead.
June Graham, Alberni Clayoquot Métis. Whew, so much going on in this head. I'm trying to remember it all to comment. I didn't get an apology from Melanie. Okay? I was the first one that responded to her inappropriate letter that was sent out in a board meeting without the knowledge of any other board members. And she will know that I was the first one to respond to it and tell her how inappropriate it was. She did not respond to my email. She has not apologized to me. I hear others say she's apologized and we should accept it. She hasn't apologized to me. And she hasn't apologized to any of the other leaders in here with a letter, as far as I know. And what's so funny is that this MNGA, I'm looking at myself last MNGA. Everyone's running to protect Melanie this time. The majority. The minority is me. Remember me last MNGA? Speaking up for Walter while we didn't care about the Constitution or anything. We tore him apart at the table in camera. Remember? Yeah. Now you're all doing it with Melanie. And I'm the minority on this side. Take that point. You all have a belief that someone is wonderful. I know different. And the truth needs to come out here. It's being sugar-coated right now still. And we talk about the board being divided. Whew, we are so divided on this table. I listen to the lies that are being held up. I want truth to take this table today. You're also hell-bent on someone being mistreated on the board. There's no innocence there. And I hope the board will continue to speak up. Get this out. I don't talk to my regional director anymore. I haven't talked to him for I don't know how long. I don't invite him into my community. I don't support the stance that he takes. Who was worried about the Constitution not being followed when the executive committee made a decision solely on their own without the board of directors passing it? Who cared here? The majority of you didn't. That wasn't important to you. Now all of a sudden it's Melanie, and we're all standing up to fight. Think about that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other hands, and I know we're getting to about 10:33. The way in which this resolution is written, with the four parts, and one of those being kind of contingent on the others, and given that for be it resolved part A, and I thank you, clerk, for bringing this. If we can go to A. That the MNGA directs the MNC Board of Directors to explain and justify the portions there. It appears that that portion has been addressed today, but that still leaves the portion of B, which really connects with D to get B and D together, as well as part C, which has a different kind of outcome that's looked at. What I'm going to suggest is that we look at C first, because D kind of says it's subject to approval of A through C above. If we look at C, and discuss that portion of the resolution, and make any decisions out of there, and then we can, depending on the result of that, look at the combination BD and the proposed amendment of the Constitution, just so that we can kind of keep it a bit organized and have the discussion and decisions reflect that well. Do you see Chairperson DeJager's hand, if I can recognize you at this time?
There we go. My screen just went funny there. Am I on twice here? Oh, you can hear me? Okay. I'm just wondering if governance can explain a bit of this as we go through B, C, because I see some legal sort of bits here that kind of don't line up, and I think we need some legal advice, especially when we're saying that, we're going to bring other things in line with the Constitution, and like the Constitution is supposed to be our holy grail. So maybe we can get a few thoughts from governance on how this resolution is laid out and parts that could be a little complicated that we might have to bring in line.
Yes, and so I think that would be a kind of a discussion for part D, and I'm what I'm going to suggest we kind of hold off on that first because it's only contingent if part C is approved, as per the wording in part D. So what I'm going to say is we kind of put a pin in that briefly, Chairperson Dieger, and we direct our discussion to part C. Which is a resolution that the MNGA, Governance Committee develop in partnership with communities and citizens legislation which A, outlines the roles, responsibilities, and powers of MNBC's elected leadership, B, outlines the ethical standards elected leaders are expected to uphold, and C, provides clear and consistent processes for raising concerns, resolving conflict, and holding MNBC elected leaders to account. So what I'll do is I'll invite anyone wishing to speak to this portion of the resolution to use the raise hand function, and we'll proceed in that manner. So your hand is still up, Chairperson Dieger. So did you want to speak to this or no? I'm seeing head shaking. No. Okay. I will go to Director Harriet.
Patrick Harriet, Region 1 Director. Yeah, I'm speaking in favor of this. It was yesterday that the Governance Committee asked for, clear direction to actually do the work on this. And what I like about this is it gives sort of more clear direction and avenues for the MNGA to do that work. So just pointing out that, the initial direction was passed yesterday, and this is clarifying and being more precise. And so I'm absolutely in favor of this.
Thank you very much. President Byrd, Vice President Byrd, sorry.
Thank you. Yes, also speaking in favor of this section, as was discussed, we discussed the importance of having an ethics act and other work. I think what's really key here is outlining the roles, responsibilities, and powers of MNBC's elected leadership. I think that's a really important piece to dig into, and I think it's going to be a really crunchy and nuanced piece. And so I really hope that we get the direction to be able to dig into this. I think a lot of conflict and disagreement can come from that specific piece. And so I think it'll be really an interesting piece to dive into as a governance committee, and then also, of course, with the MNGA and with our communities and citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. President Graham, please go ahead.
June Graham, Alberni Colquitt, Métis. Question to Caitlin. How many folks on the governance committee have no bias toward the existing board? I see you strongly spoke up in favor of the acting president or vice president, whatever she is. How would that bias influence what you're doing in this work with outlining the roles and responsibilities? Because I see that you have voiced some strong opinions today. And how will you be able to keep that out of this?
I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for anybody else on the committee, of course. But over the years, many of you have heard me say, if I were to remove the person from this, would I still have the same response or the same analysis, the same discussion point? And that's a practice that I take upon myself on a daily basis. I try to, I know some people have called me cold for doing such a thing, and taking sort of not speaking from the heart or being personable about it. But that is the lens I try to take when it comes to examining how our leadership works, how our governance works. I try to remove the people from it and look at the objective steps and actions and things that have taken place and make my decisions from there. So I can only speak for myself. And as part of the region that I represent, I have, when sort of the governance committee has been given, yep, okay, go back and get feedback from your committee, from your councils, from your regions, and bring it back. That is my role as our regional person, is I bring it to our regional governance council, have the conversation with our regional governance council, and bring that back. Those on the committee know that I have been many times flagged things that I know that my region would be okay with or not okay with, because I've heard that strongly from our region in different conversations. So that is what I can say for my own perspective. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Caitlin. Yeah, I'm just concerned at the process here. It would go from governments to the MNGA table for approval. And as we know, there's a majority against. So I'm wondering just how influenced this whole thing will be, because the power struggle is real here, and it concerns me. It concerns me a lot. So I just kind of wanted to name that and put it out there that I have concerns about how impartial this can all really be. Thank you.
Thank you. President Massey.
Just a question more to the board, and just trying to bring this back into some semblance of order here. We're all divided, obviously. Has the board had any mediation, outside mediation done? Have you taken any training on governance, leadership? Oh my God, you're like a bunch of kids in the sandbox. This is crazy. It's easy to deal with this if you get some training. God forbid you get some training and actually know how to do your jobs. Please get some training and get this done. Thank you.
I'll recognize Director Flamont.
Thank you so much, Tyler. And the board can all attest to this. Since I got on this board at MNBC, I saw how it didn't work effectively. And you have to remember that I have over 35 years experience working on boards, and I was sitting on the Crown Corp ICBC when I got elected into MNBC. So I have been requesting probably for the past 6 years, practically at every meeting, for governance training. So I saw and witnessed that this board needed governance training. To this date, we haven't had the governance training. I think there was a little short one when I was away in Europe, but it hasn't been brought back. And it's so unfortunate, because this board needs to have that governance training. Thank you.
Chairperson Carrier.
Yes, thank you for the question, Tyler. Director Flamond is correct. Since I've been on this board, she has been asking for governance training. We've had a very brief 2, I think, hour-and-a-half sessions with Castles, a legal firm that specializes in governance. But to answer your question, I agree. These are matters of governance that when everybody's on the same page and understanding their fiduciary responsibility, it should run smoother. We do have our new governance lead, Jazz, and this has been flagged to do that governance training with the board in earnest. So I know that that is in the works in the days ahead, and I appreciate the comment. I couldn't agree more.
Thank you. President Allard.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, sorry, I'm in and out here. I'm working there, but thank you for this. I support this resolution and section D as well. Yeah, I agree with a lot that's been said here. President Wing mentioned trust, loss of trust. That's huge. And then the latest comment from President Massey there, I think it makes sense. But the training is just one part of it. I believe mediation, someone from the outside at the board table should be present. I would like to see if, and before I even bring this up there, I appreciate the shout outs to my previous resolution that mentioned censure. Censure usually is a political statement. Discipline is not automatically associated with censure. I guess that was kind of just decided and the sanctions were pulled from somewhere. But regardless, censure is an option, and that could apply to the MNGA as well, potentially censoring the board. So I would ask that the board commit to having some mediation for the foreseeable future involved in their board exchanges here. That's my suggestion. I support this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll next recognize Acting President Allard.
Yes, and thank you. I just want to go to President Massey's comments. We definitely can look at that. We do have Jazz now, who is our governance and who's going to be working on bringing those things in. We've also had that suggested mediation many times, but we just haven't been able to get there to the table to do it. So yeah, I'm looking for upcoming opportunity for Jazz to provide us with that training. Thank you.
Director Hooper, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to acknowledge and say, yes, we have asked for training and governance training. We need a lot of different types of training, and we have had it on our schedule, but unfortunately, things keep coming up and it gets bumped off. But I do know that it is something that we're all going to make sure, I hope we all make sure that we stick to it when it does put it on our agenda. And we need a couple of days of it several times. It's not just a one and done deal. And we've also, I would like to hope that we can bring an elder into our meetings as well. Thank you.
Chairperson Carrier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just also wanted to just let the Assembly know that last fall we did attempt to do some relationship building and relationship repair. We sat with Elder Bruce Dumont. He led us in a few meetings. He held ceremony with us, and he did urge the executive at the time to bring us into compliance with the Constitution. We didn't get there, but it was certainly tried.
Thank you. Director Harriet, please go ahead.
Patrick Harriet, Regional 1 Director. Yeah, I just want to thank President Massey for getting right to the point as he's known to do. I've been asking for governance training to be a part, like at least a half a day, if not a full day, attached to every board meeting that we have. We absolutely need to have that on a regular basis. And I've been asking for several years, so I have no answer as to why it hasn't happened, because I've been asking for it and I've always voted in favor of it and keep bringing it up. And I totally agree. It should be done on a regular basis because it's obvious that it's needed.
Thank you. Leader McDonnell, please go ahead.
This might be off track and you can pull me back if that's the case. I just wanted to say and to share that after our last MNGA, as we were leaving, I heard very loud threats against people. So when we say that we are divided as leaders, it's really true. And even bringing this forward, I've had messages telling me, I guess it would be to be careful. So it makes it really hard to want to bring things forward. If there's potential for that to happen to everybody. Someone said I was courageous to bring this forward, and that's not courage at all. It's just I really wanted us to have this discussion. And I am listening carefully. And I'm grateful for all of the voices. But threatening is not the Métis way. We keep talking about culture. You can be as cultural as you want and read as many books as you want about the Métis. But if you don't take on those cultural references, then you're picking and choosing. And my opinion is we don't get to do that. We're Métis from the heart, from the land, from our feet all the way up. And we need to remember that. I don't believe anyone speaking is trying to discredit horribly anyone, but I do think that our language, the words we speak, and we've heard this a million times, the words we speak matter. And I just want to, okay, that's enough. I just wanted to share that. I want us to remember who we are first and foremost.
Thank you very much, Leader McDonnell. I'm not seeing any more hands. So what I'm going to suggest, as I kind of mentioned, and I'm just reviewing with my colleague, there's, as I said, there's the 4 parts to this resolution, and some are contingent on others passing first. I'm going to, unless there's any objection, I'm going to look for unanimous consent that Part A is now, if I can put it, moot, and that it's been addressed already, and there'd be no need to vote on that. Excuse me. If there's any objection to that process or that suggestion, please use the raise hand function, as I think that that has now been the opportunity to ask those questions and to explain and justify. Chairperson Diego.
Yes, I'm wondering if governance can explain that. That was my point, was on A, that by the MNGA to bring the MNBC Constitution into agreement with Societies Act. My belief is that that should be reversed.
That's Part
so
B. That's Part B. I'm just looking at Part A.
Oh,
yes.
I see. Okay, well, I'm ready for Part B then. How's
Yeah,
that?
we'll get there. We'll get there in a second. So is there Part A is the direction that the MNGA direct the board to explain and justify those portions and answer further questions. It appears that has taken place this morning. And so unless there's any objection, I'm going to deem that now moot insofar as it's been dealt with. Seeing no objection, what I'm going to do, again, we're going to skip B and D as they're kind of together, and we're going to go to Part C. So hold up a little bit longer, Chairperson Diego. This is the resolution that the MNGA Governance Committee develop in partnership with communities and citizens, legislation which A, outlines the roles, responsibilities, and powers of MNBC's elected leadership, B, outlines the ethical standards elected leaders are expected to uphold, and C, provide clear and consistent processes for raising concerns, resolving conflict, and holding MNBC elected leaders to account. And as was noted in the discussion, some of this is kind of already been directed by the MNGA to the governance committee through the previous resolution that was at the conclusion of the presentation yesterday. So what I'm going to look for is we'll see if there's unanimous consent for Part C. Is there any objection to the portion there on the screen for Part C proceeding as written? Yes, Chairperson Diego.
Okay, I'm wondering on CA, right? That's where we're at?
Yes.
So develop terms of reference that outlines the roles, responsibilities, and powers of MNBC's elected leadership. So where does the terms of reference kind of play in the work actually getting done as far as outlining ethical standards, the direction of what's going to happen here? Where is sort of the any appeal process? Is that all being built in, or how is that being outlined?
Well, that'll depend. The way it's written here is that essentially the MNGA is directing the governance committee to look at developing legislation which addresses these points. So it'll depend on it's really basically just saying, hey, governance committee, we want you to look at this. And some of this has already been directed by the MNGA for the governance committee to address. They sought direction, for example, to look into an ethics act as an example. So this is really just directing the governance committee to engage and look into legislation. So it's not saying that this will eventually or will end up to something. It'll be up to the governance committee to look into how best to suggest potential legislation. Does that make
Great, thank-
sense? Yeah. President Cron.
Ron Caron, President, Vernon District, Métis. Currently, we have each region should have their governance committee person. We trust that they're going to do all the right things, but will they come back to community before anything's presented? That's like how that's written is basically they're going to come to us, come to the citizens for this legislation. But are they actually going to ask us? Are they going to go in there and develop something and then throw it forward like it has? Like, is there going to be a survey that goes out to do? Like, this is there's a lot of gray areas here. And if they're not going to ask me, they're not going to get my support, right? If I have no say in this as a president, and I'm thinking other presidents are probably feeling the same way. If you don't have a say in the governance committee person that represents you when they go there, like, are they going to come back to us first, or are they going to ask us prior what we think? That's my concern with this Article C.
From the reading here, it would indicate that that it should be in partnership with community citizens, and how that looks. We heard, for example, from Vice President Byrd on her practice, and so each individual community member may do things similarly or slightly differently. Ultimately, any recommendations for potential legislation would come obviously to the MNGA at a first instance. In any event for consideration, and would be through the regular notice provisions of any potential legislation, either changes or new legislation that would allow opportunity for discussion ahead of an MNGA. And certainly it would be open to yourself as a president or the RGC who appointed your region's community member to discuss and request feedback and updates, etc.
So just to add to that, the RGC, so on the RGCs, we have the presidents, the chair, but we have 3 regional positions who are not part of the MNGA. Are they part of that conversation? Because the MNGA representative for each of these of the 3 regional positions are obviously the women's chair, the 2S chair, and the youth chair. So do they get involved because they are the MNGA representatives? Do the conversations at the RGC, do the other 3 representatives, are they involved in that conversation? That's the other question.
And so which conversation, just so I'm clear?
If there's a conversation prior, like the governance committee conversation with the regional governance councils?
So the governance committee is made up of regional representatives from each region. So there'd be a Region 3 representative, which would presumably be reporting back to the Regional Governance Council and how, your members on that council. And then there's also a board member representative on the governance committee, as well as representatives from the MyBC, Métis Women BC, and the 2S Plus committee as well. So they would be, presumably each committee member would be reporting back, or could be requested by those in the body that appoints them as the representative on the committee to respond back, etc. Which as an example, we heard Vice President Byrd saying that she goes back to her RGC or the members of her RGC for feedback or positions. As it's a representative kind of position in that. I have I'm sorry if it's President or Vice President Deck.
My question is on the first part of C in that statement, where it says in partnership with communities and citizens. Is the intent that 33,000 citizens are going to participate in this process? I'm wondering if the wording shouldn't be in partnership with community representatives, on behalf of the citizens.
Certainly, if we can, clerk, if we can.
Ooh, you mean hiding anywhere? Where the spaghetti is? Get a squash. Yeah, right in front. It's
Betty, your mic is on if you want to turn it off. Enjoy your spaghetti.
Claire, if I could just get clarification on whether I captured it. There was a bit of background noise that derailed my train of thought.
President Deck, is that the changes there on the screen? Does that represent what you had said? Our clerk was not able to necessarily hear everything. Just want to make sure we've got it accurately. So, Vice President Deck, is that
okay, in partnership with community representative. Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Exactly. Sorry, I had to run out. I have a customer, but I'm good.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for the suggested change by Vice President Deck? I do have previous hands up. I'm not sure if either of them.
I'll second that.
And sorry, who was that?
Oh, Kim Finlayson, Golden Ears Métis Society President.
Thank you. Thank you. And so I'll look and I'll ask, I can have President Caron, Chairperson Carrier, and Director Harriet can lower hands. I've got those in the list. And then is there any discussion or regarding the proposed change here by Vice President Deck? Yes, Director Gervais.
You want to get my hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I was just looking at the community representatives. Could we have in there community elected representatives? Because representatives could be anything, any kind of committee or whatever it is, you know.
I'm not sure if Vice President Deck is there. Is there any issue with that? Elected community representatives?
I'm okay with it.
Thank you. And President Finlayson?
I'm just out of view of the screen, but I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Just to clarify who those elected, or sorry, those who the community representatives are. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, not seeing any hands. I'll look for unanimous consent to make the wording. Or sorry, go ahead, Director Harriet.
Yeah, nothing like wordsmithing, eh? Patrick Harriet, Region 1 Director. I'm just conscious that there's also appointed representatives as well. If you look at the MNGA Governance Committee, each body appoints someone to be their representative. So just wondering if that's helpful in this conversation.
So I'm just trying to, what the wording we might want to suggest. So you're suggesting some additional.
Elected or appointed community representatives.
Okay. We can add that as it does reflect or just clarify it as was questioned earlier, who the community representatives are. So elected or appointed. There we go. Thank you. Any other comments or proposed changes? All right, seeing none, I'm going to look to see if we have unanimous consent. Is there any objection to the wording, modifying the wording as set out here on the screen in red and removing the striked out words? Okay, seeing no objection, we'll make that change. And then what I'm going to look for, once we have the change set out there. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, so we're back here. We have C. I'm going to look if we have unanimous consent to accept Part C, that the MNGA Governance Committee develop in partnership with elected or appointed community representatives legislation, which, and then that's set out there. Chairperson Carrier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Carmen Carrier, Métis Women, British Columbia. I was actually going to suggest another amendment to C. So I don't know if you want me to do that at this time or how you wish to proceed.
No, this would be the time to do so.
Okay, I am going to recommend that we strike out B because we do have the MNBC Board Policy Manual, which deals with ethical standards of elected leaders. We've got Policy BO, Structure and Responsibilities of the Board. We've got Policy B1, Board Member Attributes. We have Policy B2, the Code of Conduct. And that goes through a whole list that's broken down under integrity, respect, confidentiality, responsibility, conflict of interest, relationships. And then we have policy B3, Code of Conduct violations and sanctions. So I believe that those standards are dealt with in the MNBC Board Policy Manual. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, if I recall, yesterday there was also the direction, however, for the governance committee to look at ethical, and it may be that the intention here, and that's certainly up to those bringing it, that to codify it in legislation as opposed to leaving it in a manual. I'm just trying to find, oh, sorry, that's the wrong thing. So that may be why it's here. I'm not sure. But certainly if that's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So then is it appropriate, and I would maybe defer to Jazz to reference the board policy manual somehow in point B?
I don't know if it'd need to be referenced. That would obviously be something obviously to me, but I presume, and I do see Vice President Byrd with her hand, and there had been the discussion yesterday at the conclusion of the presentation about the ethics portion as an example, that would be one of the a sourcing document, if I can put it that way, from which to work. But I'll recognize Vice President Byrd.
Thank you. Yeah, in discussion around the Ethics Act that the Governance Committee has had, there's been some conversation that certain aspects of maybe what's in the board policy manual should be in legislation, because as we know, the board policy manual can be changed and updated by the current board. And so by putting things in legislation, it allows the MNGA to have some say in how the board and others should conduct themselves rather than the board sort of policing and identifying their own. As we know, sometimes there's different boards that can easily make small changes or big changes. And if that's outside of the MNGA's eyes, then we don't necessarily see those changes. And so as Dave mentioned, yes, that'll be a source document. And so there may be some duplication, but it's important for it to be in legislation and outside of a policy.
Thank you. Go ahead, Chairperson Karen.
Yeah, thank you, Vice President Byrd. I appreciate that. What I would suggest, though, is that this is just not, the ethical standards don't just apply to the board of directors, that we need something in place for elected officials, period. Because this does encompass the MNGA as well. And somebody referenced, behaviors at the last MNGA. So we are elected officials and everybody's at the MNGA table. So I would like to see this expand, that it is broader for elected officials, so that there's accountability for all the people who represent the nation at the MNGA table and at the board of directors as well. Thank you.
I agree. And I think that's why it says elected leaders and not MNBC board in section B, because that applies to all of us that are all elected leaders across MNBC's situation, as well as charter communities. So elected leaders could also include, in my opinion, and this I guess I'll defer to Jazz for, but would include the regional representatives as well, charter community leadership, and MNBC leadership.
Excellent. We're thinking along the same lines, Caitlin. So could we actually put that then in writing so that it's clear, that there's clarity and there's no, that's not up for interpretation. Thank you.
In my view, just reading it is broad enough that it says elected leaders. And again, this is just a direction for the governance committee to look into this. And so they would be defining who it applies to, and providing that this is just a direction saying, hey, the MNGA wants the governance committee to look at these topics, if I can put it that way. And and then they do the wonderful work that they've been doing over the last couple of years.
I was going to suggest we ask Jazz about that, but he does direct the governance committee, so I will let the committee do its work then.
Go ahead, Jess.
Thank you very much. Just to clarify, we work with the governance committee of the MNGA, not direct it, but definitely we'll work with them. And we do define elected leaders as regional reps, presidents, and community boards. So I think from a operating parameter, it's fine, and we'll further define that while we work with the MNGA governance committee.
Thank you. Yes, Director Gervais.
Yes, respectfully, would this apply to councils also?
Sorry, repeat your question.
Yeah, does this respectfully reflect to the councils too? Like we have representatives, and the women and youth and 2SS.
Yes, if they're elected leaders or representatives, but again, this is not legislation here. So we're not defining anything yet. This is a proposed direction to the governance committee, who would then be looking at creating legislation where definitions and who it applies to would be set out.
Okay, thank you.
So given all the conversation that we've had, I'm going to look for unanimous consent for part C. And then we are going to take a well-needed health break before we get to the final portion. Is there any opposition to Part C, the direction set out in Part C, to the governance committee? Seeing no objection, Part C is forwarded or is passed. And we will take a 15-minute break. Yesterday was the afternoon break was a bit short. So if we can return at 11:30 Pacific, 12:30 Mountain, and we'll conclude with the last portion of Resolution A. Right, everybody. Welcome back. I hope there was sufficient time to grab a bite or take a stretch or do what you needed to do to get to this last portion. Before we conclude with this portion of Resolution A, we will need to go through quorum, and I will turn it over to Nicole when she's ready for the quorum call.
Okay, good morning. Can everybody hear me? I had to switch my headset. So, okay, great. All right, going from the bottom this time. Anthony Wingham, Wachea.
He had to leave.
Okay. Heather Weaver, New Caledonia.
Present.
Thank you. Marlene Swears, Caribou, Chilcotin.
Present.
Joyce Sundin, Prince Rupert and District.
Present.
Hey, Greg Stanwood, North Fraser.
Present.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Thomas Spence, Prince George.
Present.
Thank you. Juliana Shell, Boundary. Juliana.
Present.
Thank you. Mert Servatius, Kootenai South. Mert. Okay. Mike Parody, Rocky Mountain. Mike. Okay. And it appears I missed Chris Sample, Mikisew.
Present.
Thank you. Val Pace, River of the Peace. Okay, Jordana Oliarni, Tri-River.
Present.
Thank you. Betty Ann McDonnell, Nicola Valley and District.
Present.
Tyler Massey, North Island.
Here.
Richard Lewis, Cowichan Valley.
Hello here. Still.
Alan Lavallée, Region 2 Director.
Here.
Tara Langlois Young, Chilliwack.
She did say she had an appointment at noon.
Okay.
So she might disappear for a little bit.
Thank you. Surrey Delta, Anthony Crillo.
Present.
Thank you. Harry Kennedy, South Okanagan.
Present.
Monica Parkinson, Columbia River.
Present.
Susie Hooper, Region 6 Director.
Present.
Okay, Patrick Harriet, Region 1 Director.
Present.
June Graham, Alberni Clayoquot.
I'm here.
Tracy Good, Fraser Valley.
I'm here.
Dean Gladue, Region 3 Director.
Present.
Rainy Gervais, Region 5 Director.
Present.
Brenda Fletcher, Mid-Island.
Present.
Paulette Flamond, Region 7 Director.
Present.
Bertie Fisher, Two Rivers.
Present.
Okay, and just checking to see if Deborah Fisher, Region 4 Director, made it in. Okay, Kim Finlayson, Golden Years.
Present.
Cheryl Dodman, Kelowna.
Present.
Betty Deck, Moccasin Flats.
Present.
Louis DeJager, 2SMBC Chair.
Present.
Nicole Corson, West Kootenai.
Present.
Alana Copeland, Fort St. John. Here. Thank you. Bernadette Chaboyer, Northwest.
Present.
Rhonda Carrier, Vancouver Sea to Sky.
Present.
Carmen Carrier, MWBC Chairperson.
Present.
Ron Curran, Vernon and District.
Present.
Topher Burke, Columbia Valley.
Present.
Thank you. Zev Brewer, Cathet.
Present.
Caitlin Bird, Greater Victoria.
Present.
Danielle Bergevin, MYBC Chairperson.
Present.
David Allard, Salmon Arm. Dave Allard, Salmon Arm. Okay. Melanie Allard, Interim President.
Present.
Dylan Adam, Vermilion Fork.
Present.
Thank you. Did I miss anyone? Okay, there is a quorum, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. And just over the break there, I was looking at, and we've had, obviously there was the questions and comments from, as an example, Chairperson Diager regarding B and then how it works with D. When it was originally submitted, and we heard yesterday when as part of it, Nicole, our clerk, was trying to adjust the formatting to make it work. Part D was actually kind of an attachment, a second page. And so you'll see in Part B, if we can pull up Part B, Madam Clerk. Thank you. And we see it, we put in a set of, it said the attached resolution. That attached resolution was what is the D. So it was just kind of, when it was formatted, it was added on. So originally on the first part of the resolution was A, B, and C, and then would be subject to the approval of whether to consider the part of the second or that resolution. So we can ignore, in my view, the B portion of resolution A, because really it's just getting to the consideration of D, and essentially dealing with that. So we'll go to D, because this is the actual portion that's being proposed for amendment. And as you'll recall, given that this is a proposed amendment to the Constitution, this would require a 75% vote for approval. And what's being recommended here in the resolution is the portion that we have here highlighted, that Article 23, a person is disqualified from being a member of the board of directors when, and to add here as a 23.10, they have been removed by a special resolution passed at a general meeting by at least 2/3 of the votes cast by the voting citizens present. So I will open it up to the MNGA for anyone wishing to speak to the proposed constitutional amendment here, either for or against, or if they have questions. And please just use the raise hand function so that I can keep track of who is the next speaker. Don't jump all at once. President Graham, please go ahead.
June Graham, Alberni Clayoquot Métis. Most folks won't want to hear what I have to say right now, but I'm going to say it anyway. This one really concerns me because I watched at our last MNGA how out of control things were. And that there was a lot of emotion running, and that is what was driving everything that was happening. And I believe that we need to be unbiased when we make these decisions because they're important decisions. our table, the way it's broken at the MNGA, I don't feel we're ready for this yet. And once again, I know I'm the minority, and I'm okay with that because I will speak my truth regardless. So this concerns me about how there might be irrational or quick to make decisions. I believe that, power is something that we are disciplined to learn how to utilize and not abuse it. Now, had we all been disciplined to use power, we would not have got into such an emotional tearing down of our past president at the last MNGA like we did. I've been raised by people that have been groomed for positions of power, and there's always a humbleness, and we didn't have humbleness at the table. And it's the most important factor that we need to have when we are in these positions of power, to never abuse it and to use it in a way that's humble. And I didn't see that happen. And once again, I acknowledge I'm the minority, but it will not silence my truth. I am my mother's daughter, and I was raised to speak the truth, and I will continue to speak the truth, whether people want to hear it or not. So I will raise that concern of mine that I don't believe we're ready at our table. We have lots of work to do, lots of mending to do. I think yeah, it's anyway, that's my opinion, and I'm going to leave it out there. And thank you.
Thank you. And maybe just as clarification, but I think your comments would apply similarly. The proposed amendment here would be at a general meeting, so not an MNGA meeting, but a general meeting, so like an AGM or a meeting called for that. And I think that's why it says voting citizens present. But certainly, President Graham, I think those same concerns in whatever venue that would make sense.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, I did not, I missed that. I thought we were talking about the MNGA table. Yeah, I think it kind of spreads everywhere, though. I think it's something we need to be cautious of. We need to be aware of. We need to acknowledge it and recognize it, and not stay in denial about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chairperson Jaeger, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted some clarification if I could. I'm actually wondering if it should actually be 23.10 or it should be its own number. Just because 24 says that everything in 23. So I'm just wondering if the resolution by 2/3 of votes by voting citizens present. So where are we as far as we stand with, online voting, people in the room, AGM voting, just some clarification on kind of why it was put in 23 and not separated on its own. And then does it go to appeal, or is that a final and binding sort of thing if you're charged with a 2310? And how do you even get there? Does it have to be, what have you done to warrant a special resolution for your removal?
Thank you. And just in regard to, so just for people, just for the sake, 23 is the disqualification. So as Chairperson Jaeger saying, this would be this removal would then therefore disqualify someone from being a member of the board of directors if it's kept in 23. And yes, there's nothing here to say what must be included or to be considered in the special resolution. Voting citizens present would include those voting remotely that are accredited. When we have our AGMs with both citizens that are physically present or virtually present and voting that have the requisite credentials to vote, those would all be considered as voting citizens present within any of our kind of votes. But certainly some good points for consideration. I have President Burke next.
Thank you. Topher Burke, President, Columbia Valley Métis. I'm in support of the wording of this. It's citizens present. It could be an AGM, MNGA. And I'd like to counter a previous statement of how our table isn't ready for this yet. If we're not ready for it yet, then what are we doing here? Like, we're here, we're elected officials. We're here to make decisions based on facts. We do need to do it with humility. And that's the reason we had to remove the last president, because there was no humility. And we're making decisions based on facts. We're not doing it on emotions. That's why we're here to hear the facts. That's why we talk to each other. And I 100% believe we are ready to have this mechanism because we've proven that we need it. That's all.
Thanks, Sue. Thank you. I did next have, I saw a hand originally up, President Finlayson. I'm not sure if your hand was taken down by mistake or if you still wish to speak.
No, I still wish to speak. I just knew you probably had me in the queue. I also wanted to speak to that. I feel that it was misspoken to say that we all were making decisions emotionally, because our last MNGA, we took like a day and a half to discuss and ask questions and be educated to make an informed decision. And understanding bias, I understand where she's coming from, because I do feel that there's a bias towards the former president with her. But I feel like all of us at the MNGA took our time to ask quality questions, to receive answers, and we did not make any rash decisions. So I really took exception to that. And maybe that is why we need to support this even further.
Thank you. I did next have Vice President Bird. Her hand was next.
Me? Thank you. I think the other piece to consider, I thank those who have spoken, because I agree with the last couple speakers as well. And I think the other piece to consider is that one of the situations that led to us having that long conversation at our last MNGA was in 23.9. It discusses fiduciary duty, and we don't have a clear definition of what that is. And so I think if we look at 23.10 as being proposed, and we look at it within the context of this whole resolution where we outline roles, responsibilities, whatnot of our leaders, I think that will inform 23.10 to ensure that we have a clear understanding of the mechanisms and reasons why we might want to remove a director or other elected leader from their current position. Thank you.
Thank you. I next have President Copeland. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to commend June Graham on what she had to say about that we're not ready for this. This goes back to our president's page, and I know that this is not part of what we're talking about here, but there's so much rallying on the president's page, one way or the other, that, I mean, there is no way that we are ready for anything like this. It depends who's talking. So I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. President Adam, please go ahead.
Dylan Adam, Vermilion Forks Métis Association. I also have concerns about this resolution. I'm worried about reactionary votes in the future, and it could lead to greater instability moving forward. I think that it needs a lot more time to be studied, maybe by the governance committee. I'm not sure. Yeah, I just have concerns about the potential instability it could create if we don't really determine the thresholds and what would lead to this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Director Harriet, please go ahead.
Yeah, Patrick Harriet, Region 1 Director. And I want to thank some of the previous speakers for their comments because I agree. I think that's why the direction that's been given to the governance committee is very important because we need to define what a breach of fiduciary duty is. We need to define processes to ensure that all the facts are brought for consideration, and it's not just a knee-jerk reaction. But on the other side, I also feel that this is, and like it or not, we're registered with the Societies Act. So we have those statutory obligations as well, and this is a power of the citizens to be able to have their say. So as it says, as it is right now, we're not in compliance with that power being given to the citizens. So I hear some of the reservations that I also share because we need to have a good process that's independent and can bring all the facts to the table. So it's not a we like you or we don't like you just because situation. But I think that both things can happen in tandem.
Thank you, Director Harriet. President Chaboyer, please go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I agree with Patrick. And I'm having a hard time with some things that are being said because I myself feel that I'm an individual, and for people to assume how I think or how I talk, it just seems that some think that everybody's on the same page when in reality we're not. So having all those facts um, laid out correctly and not having anybody else speak to how everybody else thinks would be beneficial for all of us.
Thank you, President Chaboyer. President Stanwood, please go ahead.
Am I here? Okay, hang on a second. Here we go.
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm in total agreement with this. I think we are definitely ready to make these kind of decisions ourselves. I'm totally for what Patrick was also saying as well. And I think we have to go down this alley because of what's gone on in the past. I think this gives us a mechanism of moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairperson Carrier, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Carmen Carrier, Métis Women, British Columbia Chair. This is a good discussion. So what I'd like to hear more from, I guess, the governance committee is what are the mechanisms for this special resolution? Like I'm not opposed to this. I think this is really good for accountability, but how is this being defined? And I know some of the comments earlier were like, this needs further study. I would like this to be fleshed out. I'd like more details. What is the threshold for a special resolution in order for it to come to a general meeting? And I do agree that the accountability piece needs to be in place because the board of directors are fiduciaries. So there does need to be accountability when the fiduciary duty is broken. So I disagree with how Minister Harriet presented it because I don't think our citizens will come to it. At least I hope they wouldn't come to it because they don't like somebody, that they would bring forward a special resolution. Because to me, it has to be based in policy, it has to be based on the Constitution and policy. And that needs to be, I think, flushed out as part of the threshold to bring forward a special resolution. So I might be missing something. I'm not sure if maybe this has been discussed at the governance committee, but if there could be some more details about that framework, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just looking, obviously that we do not have a specific act that addresses annual general meetings or general meetings. The portion in the Constitution, paragraphs or Articles 70 and 71, set out what's to be included in AGM and who can vote in AGM, but it does not, as an example, in response to one of your questions, Chairperson Kerr, does not set up, for example, how a resolution or otherwise can be brought, other than legislative resolutions, which have to go through the MNGA first for approval before going to the AGM. But non-legislative resolutions are not set out on how those are brought with regards to content or that aspect. Obviously, the requirement here would require a 2/3 vote, so that's been set out in the proposed amendment. Yes, Vice President Byrd, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's not set out. However, there is precedent that we've brought forward resolutions at AGMs in the past from the floor. And so one example was the Declaration of Self-Government. And so I believe if we looked back, we could see what the precedent was and what the mechanisms for resolutions to come forward from the floor were previously. And we can use that as perhaps an example and to explore what the process could be moving forward.
Yes, certainly. I wasn't saying that couldn't, and I appreciate Vice President Byrd pointing out one of the examples in the past, and the declaration being one of those. And I believe there's been others as well, but that's probably one of the more recent or well-known ones. Director Harriet, please go ahead.
Patrick Harriet, Regional 1 Director. I believe that some of those things are outlined in the bylaws. What the threshold is. I think it's like 5% of voting members or something like that. I'm proud to say that I asked that when we were amending our bylaws a number of years ago, that included in there was a provision that our constitution and legislative acts supersede the bylaws when they disagree. So I think that's all the more reason for us to do this work at the governance committee and propose to the MNGA what the regulations around this are and make sure that it's a fair and well thought out and transparent process. Because as it stands right now, it defaults to the bylaws and to the Societies Act without us having something in place to supersede that.
Yes, thank you. Chairperson Kerr.
Yeah, does that include transparency for any future suspensions with process and constitutional issues?
Well, this portion would only be talking about a removal, and that process or a potential process being by a special resolution at a general meeting. So it's not about suspension, or at least not what's being proposed here as part of this proposed amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Director Hooper, please go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarification, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but this, if passed today, will go to the AGM in September. Thank you.
That's correct. Yes.
Thank you.
President Caron, please go ahead.
Sorry, a little slow on the draw here today. Ron Caron, Vernon District Métis. The way I'm reading this is this gives a lot of power to a handful of people to possibly remove elected officials on a regular basis just based on something they don't like on a 2/3 vote. I mean, this could come up every single year. We might be replacing a president or a director or a chairperson for like this. This is ridiculous. This gives the power to very few people that might be able to drum up support to just get rid of people for no particular reason. I mean, yes, there's going to be policies and stuff in place, but I think they're already there. Like Chairperson Carrier said, those policies are in place already. This just takes the power and moves it to somebody else without really knowing what's actually going on inside the board at MNBC. So I'm a little concerned. I probably won't vote in favor of this resolution in the end here. I just don't think it's good myself.
Yes, sorry, Chairperson Diego, please go ahead.
Yeah, if MNBC truly intended the Constitution to govern independently of the Societies Act, then Article 23.10 is a major policy change because it gives citizens a new power to remove elected leaders. If MNBC accepts that the Societies Act already controls director removal, then Article 23.10 could be viewed as merely aligning the Constitution with existing provincial law. So the resolution assumes the second position. The Constitution, particularly Articles 4, 12 to 35, and 72, arguably supports the first position, that MNBC is a constitutional Métis government, and the society exists to administer it. That is why I think it's proper to characterize the Societies Act issue as a legal interpretation, not an established fact. So the resolution presents one interpretation, but the Constitution provides a credible basis for the opposite interpretation as well. So that being said, if it's used or misused, can there be an argument against it? So what I'm saying is I wouldn't present this at the next AGM until we flush that out, because there could be a credible argument if it's used against somebody for some real legal jeopardy for MNBC. So that's what I'm cautioning here.
Thank you, Chairperson Diego. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to the resolution? Yes, President Stanwood, please go ahead.
Sorry, slow to the mark again. So Greg Stanwood, North Fraser Métis Association. I'm just thinking that in the Societies Act, isn't it, Dave, that you need you can collaborate with the citizens and have 10% of the voting of citizens support an SGM, and at that SGM with a special resolution remove a member of the board. Is that part of the Societies Act?
I without knowing, I have to look at the specific, but there's something, very similar, where you can call an SGM with a certain percentage of members.
So we're leaving it to the citizens to call an SGM if there's a board member or board removal of the whole board if you want. It is the responsibility of the citizens. They can call a special SGM to have a resolution to remove a member or the board if the board is dysfunctional. So there is already in the Societies Act an alternative to remove a member or board in the Societies Act. Is that right? That's what I'm asking for clarification.
Something along those lines, obviously, and I believe it was Director Harriet noted that if there's something in conflict between the Societies Act and our legislation, or particularly our Constitution, that our Constitution would take precedence. So that'd be an issue. And I'm not sure, just maybe my clarification, the proposal here, the amendment is that it would not require a special meeting. So there's no threshold to call it. This is at a general meeting if the 2/3 being required.
There's a question made, why would this be called in the first place? So that's what I'm saying, that this is an alternative form of calling that, bringing it up into discussion.
Thank you.
All right.
I have Chairperson Carrier first, and then Director Harriet again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So is the criteria breach of fiduciary duty to move this special resolution at a general meeting? Is that the criteria?
Here, there's no criteria that's set out on what's to be included in a special resolution. And my colleagues and I were just trying to look. I don't think there's nothing in our legislation defining that. So it essentially, just on the face of it, would be if a special resolution was brought at a general meeting and moved and seconded, and before the citizens present, the that it would be up to those voting members on a two-third basis in order to effect a removal.
Okay,
It does not set out the basis or anything like that. I presume the resolution would explain why, but that's about as far as it's set out here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I am going to motion that we table this motion until the governance committee can do more work on defining that, because what concerns me here is that if we can remove anybody for any reason that doesn't have to be justified, that's going to put us into a constitutional crisis and could create some reputational damage. It has implications for our funders. It has implications for how communities are funded, for how our programs are funded. So that, again, not opposed to having our assembly involved in accountability, but I think that this piece needs a bit more work. It needs to be fleshed out. We need to have a better framework with more details that will flesh this out better to ensure that we are protecting the integrity of the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and before we get to, because I did have a couple hands that I just wanted to get to, and then we're just getting the wording here. Director Harriet, go ahead.
Yeah, Patrick Harriet, Region 1 Director. So special resolutions cannot be moved from the floor. They need notice. So what folks are suggesting that, it can just suddenly arise from the floor, like that's not the case. There needs to be notice, and there is a certain process for being able to get special resolutions submitted to be considered. And right now that is a certain percentage of the citizenship of MNBC. And I put my hand up because President Byrd actually put some of the provisions of the Societies Act in the chat. And there are certain things that the bylaws and our Constitution, frankly and unfortunately, cannot supersede. And those are some of the powers of citizens as are protected by legislation. But there is the ability to put good process, good parameters around those provisions so that there's all the information is put together. There's an independence in getting all the facts for consideration. But if we don't do those things, then it defaults to what the Societies Act is suggesting. So these are things that are the rights of our citizens already, and yeah, resolutions can't come from the floor. So I just wanted to dispel that suddenly that can happen.
No, and I appreciate that. And as the example, the resolution that was about the
children and families.
There was proper notice in order for it to come on. That's correct. So I appreciate that, pointing that out. I've got two last speakers before we address the motion to postpone. I'll recognize President Cron and then Chairperson Diego, and then I will limit at that until we get to this next stage. But as your hands were up, I will go to President Cron.
Ron Cron from the District Métis. I agree with Carmen in postponing this. I'll support that. The one question that needs to be asked is this: so these board positions are elected officials, provincial elections, as are the regional positions, the regional women's rep, the regional youth rep, and the regional 2S rep. So the problem I have is you could target just about anybody in any of those elected positions with this motion. It's a little dangerous. It's a little scary. And again, I don't support it, and I do support tabling this until some further work is done on it, where we see if everybody's covered. And I think that Danielle, Louis, and Carmen need to be part of those conversations when they're doing this with the governance committee as to protecting their regional reps as well. So.
Thank you. And maybe just to assist in that question there, President Caron, given the proposed amendment here is in addition to 23, Section 23, which applies only to the disqualification of being a member of the board of directors. So it wouldn't be regional reps, et cetera, that would be affected by this portion, but certainly a provincial chairperson of would be affected, as well as the regional reps, the president and vice president. Finally, I'll turn to Chairperson Dieger, and then we'll get to the postponement.
Yeah, thanks. Great discussion. We're fleshing this out. I'd love to see this as like its separate recall article, so that we can properly have all these things put in, and it gets to be fleshed. Sorry, someone's mic is on, I think. Okay. So I'd love it to be fleshed out by proper legal and governance. You know, and what about being part of the MNGA too? Like if you're removed, then you're no longer part of the MNGA. And then there's so many things that need to be talked about. If we're truly going to develop a proper recall article, I would second Carmen's motion to table this. This came up on the floor as an urgent business. Like, I mean, do we need to remove somebody like right now? So I don't think urgent is really good with what we're trying to insert into the Constitution. It should be tabled. Like that would be good governance, and properly vet this out. So we have a proper recall article that's going to work for the nation, and it's going to be credible with people that see us and our governance and how we operate things outside of our institution. Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, Nicole, if you can scroll back, I know you were drafting some of the wording on that, the motion to postpone. Obviously, we're going to need a date to which we postpone. Pending report back. Okay. I'll just ask Chairperson Carrier if this is accurately reflects the motion that you're wishing to make.
Yes, let's keep it simple. It does. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know Chairperson Jaeger said that he would second, but I think President Caron beat him there. President Caron, are you agreed to second as set out here?
Sorry, I put a thumbs up there. Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
I second. Yeah.
Thank you. So we do have this. There is, if I'll allow for a limited discussion if there's any discussion on the issue of postponing, and just whether or not we should postpone. I'll look at that. Otherwise, we will go to a vote on the motion to postpone, which would require a majority in favor to postpone to affect that. Does there anyone wish to discuss the issue of postponement? Yes, Chairperson Diego.
Yeah, just really quickly, this is really major, like changing your constitution. We should take the time to develop this properly. I mean, I have a certification in governance, and to do something like this really quick, we've got mechanisms in place to make this really good. So, my hands go up to everybody who, I totally agree, we need a recall mechanism. We can do this, but let's do it well.
Thank you. Okay, and I do see President Massey in the chat. Always good to ask question. I just want to make sure we had an opportunity. So I will look. We will do this by way of. I guess we can try unanimous consent. Is there any objection to postponing the this matter that consideration of this resolution be postponed pending a report back from the MNGA Governance Committee. Is there any objection? If so, just raise your hand and then we'll just, if there is, we'll go to a vote. Thank you, President Sundin. So I will ask then Nicole to prepare a poll that can be voted on. And this would be if you're in favor of postponing, opposing it, or wish to abstain. And as mentioned, it's a majority vote that's required for the postponement motion to pass.
Okay, it'll be ready to go in just a second here. Anytime you're ready, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, as soon as you're ready, please put it up on the screen. And thank you. I'll ask anyone to vote whether or wish to postpone the remaining portion of this resolution.
Okay, let's just keep it open for another 5 seconds or so.
I don't see the poll.
I'm sorry, who said that?
That was President Finlayson.
Yeah. Oh, okay. President Finlayson, if you want to send me a direct message in the chat, we can accommodate that. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. And I will check the chat. Okay, so this is on the question of the postponement. And there are 26 in favor and 15 opposed. So the postponement carries and will be sent to the governance committee.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. That is the end of our business. We are just getting our senator to come in for the closing prayer. But I want to thank everyone again for yesterday and today, the respectful discussion, informative discussion. I also want to thank my co-speaker, as well as staff that's been in the background assisting, our clerk and deputy clerk, as well as the other staff that were available yesterday and today to answer as needed. Once we have our senator on, we'll do the closing prayer, and then I'll look for a mover and a seconder to adjourn. But again, thank you, everyone, and I always enjoy, and I'm looking forward to, I guess, our next gathering would be the AGM and the December MNGA.
Also, we have some where you need to call in, or we can just ask someone. No.
Were we going to do a closing prayer or anything?
Yes, we're just trying to link in or get Senator Lucier. And I see Vice President Bird's out. I thought you were directing everyone to thank us, that you were as a foot. And I do also appreciate and echo President Cron's comment there for honoring Article 8. And as I said, I did appreciate the respectful discussion that's still allowed for people to put their opinions forward. It's always important, whether it's with an emerging majority or if it's a lone voice. They're all important and valuable and needed and necessary. And so I think representing your communities or your constituents, it's always important to be able to utilize that voice and we're not sure if we're just waiting on their response. So we may not have a senator that's able to link in right away. Is there someone here that's willing or wishing to or able to provide the closing prayer? And I do see a hand, Director Flamond, if you wish to lead us in a closing prayer, that'd be appreciated.
Thank you, Creator. Thank you for this blessed time that we've had together. We just ask that you clear our minds so that we might be able to enjoy the rest of the day with our families. We ask that you also look over all of our citizens who are here in the province of British Columbia. And we ask that the people that are struggling with food insecurity, with addictions, with mental health, that you just bring a special blessing to them today and every day, and that you ask that they come back to their community, to their people. And I just want to give grace and honor to everyone on here today who actually were kind and thoughtful. Hi.
Thank you, everyone. With that, I'll look for a mover and a second to adjourn the MNGA to December 5th, 2026. Leader Lewis.
Motion to adjourn. Adjourn.
And I think it just seems right, and his hand is up. President Massey.
Second that motion.
Look for unanimous consent. Any objection?
No.
All right, everyone. We'll see you in December, if not earlier, in person.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.